Live on a game day Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. Down in Charlotte is the great Z. Gibbe's in your room. You've been there all week. How are you, buddy? You ready to play some football tonight?
Yes, please. Thank you. Let's go. Let's get to this game. We've been here for a while. We got a brief bit of action on Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
But that was it. And now here we are. We're ready to roll for the preseason opener tonight. Obviously, it is one of the, the most anticipated, I think, Cleveland Browns preseason game I can remember, although that is probably very much recency bias. I think the first time we got to see Bake, people were pretty excited about that. I think the first time we got to see Johnny football, people were very excited about that. But that was, in the last 5 years, certainly, or at least in the last decade, this would be, top 3 preseason games that people are excited to see. And so am I, because so much talk has been made about it, so much, and quite frankly, ignorant talk from the national perspective about this game and what it means and what the Browns are doing as it relates to Shedeur Sanders, that now we're just going to go out and play football. Now we're just going to go out there, we're going to play football, and we're going to see how it goes. So I am excited about that.
We really don't have a comp for this. There's nothing. I was trying to think. I mean, because you're right. The other two instances you mentioned, Baker's debut, and you thought about John Football's debut. I was there for Brady Quinn's debut at the stadium, and that one had a lot of juice of like wanting to see Brady go. I'm sure Tim Couch. Look, anytime you have a quarterback that you draft in the first round, there is juice to seeing them in your uniform for the first time, and that is something that is not unique. That's something that everybody who drafts a first-round quarterback, there is that juice to see that quarterback. What makes this so different are the circumstances that made this possible tonight. With a fifth-round pick, which is what Shedeur is, a fifth-round pick basically getting the ball and go. I mean, I couldn't think of another example of this, of a fifth-round pick getting the ball like this, and then beyond that, a fifth-round pick who is on a short list of one of the most famous college football players of the last 3 or 4 years, and then this is the debut. So, like, that part of it, I couldn't think of a comparison for, buddy. I really couldn't. I really racked my brain trying to. I couldn't think of one.
Let me take it a step further, because there isn't one. You're right, but this game, the get-in, and talking to people in the ticket industry, this game is bigger than your average regular season game in Charlotte.
Jeez. It's
got a higher get-in than lots of regular season games in our home stadium. People, I think, not just local, I think people are coming here to see this. I think people around the country are transfixed by this. He is a draw. This would be he's a draw. He's a draw, because you're looking at prices right now that for this Carolina Panthers game against the Cleveland Browns in the preseason by somebody I know and trust very well in the ticket industry, in the ticket market, this will be the biggest Carolina game since like Bryce Young's debut.
I'm just looking at lower bowl right now, using ESPN as an example. I just popped on to see what it was. Like, you can't sit in the lower bowl for tonight for a preseason game number 1 on the road. For the cheapest one in here is $112, and it's in the end zone and it's towards the back. Anything near is $225, $250. Folks, for the most part, people give those seats away for preseason games. Like season ticket members, that's what you do. You give your season ticket, you give your seats away to folks who can't normally attend. And the idea that you'd have to pay multiple $100s to get into this game tonight to sit in the lower bowl is a stupefying thing. And it speaks to just how unique this is. The other thing with Baker and with Johnny, you drafted those guys to be franchise saviors. Shedeur Sanders was not drafted to be a franchise savior. He was not drafted to be a franchise quarterback. He's a lottery ticket. And that's the way it has to be viewed. Also, the circumstances, like if Kenny Pickett were not nursing the hamstring, if Dylan Gabriel were not nursing the hamstring, this script would look totally different. Like all of the things that had to happen for him to be just given the game, and he's earned it. He's done all the things right, for sure, but like there's also nowhere else to go with it. All of the snaps are his snaps.
Right. I think if you had everybody up, it's maybe Kenny Pickett starts or Dylan Gabriel starts this game, and they play a lot, and Shedeur maybe plays the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But he's going to get, Kevin Stefanski said 50 plays or so last night on the Kevin Stefanski show. He's going to get, well into the second half, and This is an incredible opportunity. And people say, oh, he's being set up to fail. He didn't get any reps with the ones. How can you put him out there? This is the preseason. He's not playing with the ones. Our ones aren't playing.
No.
And their ones are playing for a series.
Yeah.
Maybe two. He's going to be with the guys he's worked with, the 2s and 3s, going against the 2s and 3s of the Carolina Panthers. I mean, that's the reality of it. And, you'll have some interest in that first or second offensive series for as long as Carolina will keep its starters out there. But the reality is he is going against or with the guys he's practiced with against the guys that are at the equal footing of the Carolina Panthers. So, no, he is not being set up to fail. In fact, I know that he's being set up. They're trying to have it be set up for success. They would like to see this be very successful. Why wouldn't they for Shedeur Sanders?
Jeez,
he's their quarterback. We are in search of a quarterback.
Yeah.
And, we've documented it well. Like, if you've listened to this show right now, you know the quarterback deal. And if you don't, I'm sure we'll reiterate it 10 more times over the course of the next 10 days.
Yeah.
But, he had a big catch-up to do. He has put that work in. He is still the fourth quarterback on this team, and if it weren't for the injuries and the fact that Joe Flacco is an 18-year veteran in his 40s, he wouldn't have this opportunity. This is a great opportunity for Shedeur Sanders.
Is, man.
Because the reality is the game is played between the white lines, and the game is played when it is a game. It's not played in practice, ask Allen Iverson. It's not played on whiteboards. It's not played in meeting rooms.
Nope.
You want to show that, listen, I may have a lot to learn in some of those other areas about my process, about what it takes to be an NFL quarterback, about all the things you have to be able to do pre-snap, just calling the plays, all of that. But when I get out there, if I can handle that operation and let my talent shine through, this is a guy that you would expect to make a lot of plays. That's all we've seen him do every time he stepped on a football field, whether it were at Jackson State or at Colorado. So that's what's the opportunity here, and that's why I think it is going to be interesting because two things. Number one, you don't see this very often. And when's the last time the guy that everybody wants to see got 3 quarters?
Never.
In the first preseason game?
Never. No, never. No, you haven't. And, you watching some of the action last night, like Jalen Milroe, the third-round pick out of Alabama, who a lot of people linked to us at one point. Remember, at one point, we're going to have to trade up to get Jalen Milroe. Well, he ended up all the way to number 2. What?
Yeah.
You're going to have to take him at 2. You can't get him with any
take him
other
at
pick.
2.
Got to take
right.
him at 2. May have to take Milroe at 2. He ended up going in the third round to Seattle, and he played the end of the game last night. He went 6 of 10, threw for 60 yards, ran for another 38. But he played the end of the game, and Drew Lock played the majority of the game last night. Shedeur's getting all that. He's getting
and
all
nobody's counting his reps.
No.
Nobody's saying, "Oh, what's he getting in practice?" Oh, they're not. I think the problem, the disconnect for so many people, is that coming out into the draft process, right? When we were at the combine, for example, the only 2 quarterbacks in this draft that were even remotely presented as kind of franchise saviors were Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Mm-hmm. Now, clearly the league, for a variety of reasons, which we've talked about quite extensively, but the league didn't feel that way about Shedeur Sanders. It did about Cam Ward.
Yep.
He went number 1 overall. Jackson Dart ended up going, late in the first round?
Yeah.
And we haven't heard anything about his reps. All we've seen is, Jameis Winston throwing the ball off the goalpost and not having to do walkthroughs. But you haven't heard.
By the way, that's great.
Unbelievable. It's all. He is incredibly endearing and entertaining. There's no question about that.
He really is.
But yeah, so you're not having this. This is a unique phenomenon created by perhaps. As we've talked about, everybody who watched him on film, first or second round grade. Well, there's obviously things beyond the film that cause him to go into the 5th round of this draft. But people still view him as that guy because anybody who watched tape, myself included, was like, I love watching this guy play. Are there some bad habits? Of course. Was he behind a bad offensive line with no running game? Yes. Did he hold the ball and take too many sacks? Of course. So that's things you're going to look at. That's something, Kevin Stefanski talked about last night on the Kevin Stefanski show. Are we playing that, by the way, Gibbe? In this? No. So he said, we want to see him get the ball out. We want to see that pocket movement. We want to see him not take sacks, be decisive, all of those things. But there's a lens out there that he should be candid everything. But the reality is he was a 5th round pick and the second quarterback picked by our team.
Yeah.
In this draft. So it's really a fascinating thing. I think that everybody who's been around and everybody who's local that has watched it understands that while it was said to be a 4-person quarterback competition, he's never been in the competition. We've been saying that. If he doesn't get the reps today, he's not in the competition to start. And he's not. And I don't know that Dylan Gabriel is. Dylan Gabriel's getting some work. They like him a lot. They are very pleased with Dylan Gabriel. But it's really between Flacco and Pickett. And with Pickett on ice right now, it's looking like Joe Flacco, who's been available and been, excellent so far in this camp.
Yeah, the circumstances that led to this opportunity, and that's the way that it has to be. So yesterday, when you were talking to Coach on the coach's show, and you went over like kind of the plan. What are fans going to see tonight from us offensively?
I think you're going to see, what this Kevin Stefanski offense is. I do think you'll see him under center. I think you'll see the play action boot game, all of that, get him in some space, allow him to throw it. I think he's going to throw a lot. And I do think you're also going to see some situations where we get into, 10 personnel, where we get into no tight ends. We go 4 wide. We spread it out and put Shedeur in the shotgun and let Shedeur, operate some quick game out of the shotgun, things that he's comfortable doing. I think they're going to put him in positions to succeed tonight. It'll be a mix, I think, of what will be like the backbone of our offense and then some things and concepts that Shedeur is comfortable with. And so that's my expectation. Obviously, the best thing we can do for him is, that offensive line gives him some time. Guys get open, and then when we run the ball, that we're able to run it. That's going to help that under center. It's going to help that play action game, all of those things. And so I think it's going to be, I think, wildly entertaining. And I hope that, Shedeur comes out and shows people, what he is capable of doing and all the things that people who saw him on tape that were convinced that this was a guy that could really kind of transform things. That, he gets that up. This is it. This is the stage, right? I don't know that any rookie quarterback in the National Football League this year is going to get a stage like this right out of the gate. He's the only one.
No, and
3 quarters.
Yeah, the circumstances. No, it is. It's such a specific opportunity that's come his way, and it's kind of a perfect storm of things that have led to this point. Beyond Shedeur. Obviously, we know we're not going to see Dylan because otherwise he would be starting. Of the rest of the rookie class, do you anticipate seeing them all tonight?
I do. Yes, I do. I think you'll see Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger. You will not probably see them a lot. Let's get them some work and let's get them out because these are huge pieces that we're going to be counting on. But when you look at it, I also don't think you'll need to see. I wouldn't say Harold Fannon's going to play a ton. I think that obviously he's going to play, but I think that, when I was talking about getting into some of that 10 personnel, I think part of that's going to be because, Fannin won't be out there. You will see, the rest of the guys. But, kind of in my mind, offensively, we're not going to see those quarterbacks you talked about. I'm not sure if we will see Jerome Ford or not. It seems possible to me that we could see some Jerome Ford, but perhaps we will not. Won't see Judy, won't see Tillman, won't see the starting offensive line. Won't see Njoku. And defensively, I think that really the only guys that I think for sure you won't see will be Garrett, Collins, Newsome, Denzel, and probably Grant Delpit would be my guess. But I think other than that, you're going to see everybody.
What and we'll get into the Carolina side of this in a second when we do go kind of behind enemy lines. How much did you watch last night of the preseason football?
We watched a decent amount. We were out at a local watering hole and had the games on, and were able to catch a little bit of the action. I'd see Joe Burrow, just go right up and down the field for 2 drives to Jamar Chase, get him in the end zone. I thought he looked very good and sharp, and everybody's happy he didn't get out there. We saw in the Indy-Baltimore game, Keaton Mitchell was somebody who I talked about. It looks like he is fully back, and that is an incredible kind of thunder and lightning combo where they're going to be able to run him out there after Derrick Henry's beating people up, and then he's just going to run away from them. That's pretty scary, honestly, because he was a real home run hitter that first year for his injury last year. Indy, Anthony Richardson not recognizing to throw the ball into the unblocked guy, and you had 2 guys wide open over there. Now he's got a finger injury. And we got to see our guy DTR for a little bit there, and we watched the start of the Raiders in Seattle, which is wild to me that that's a preseason. They didn't. Raiders Seattle. Feel like that should have been week 1 of the regular season.
Right, yeah, with Pete going home, and then, of course, the old AFC West,
Gino.
right? I mean, there's those old AFC West, feelings with those two teams when the Seahawks were in the AFC back in the good old days. It was interesting watching the Cincinnati game, because as you're watching it, you're like, oh, wow, like, look at all this. I mean, Burrow goes 9 out of 10. I mean, missed his first throw, hit the next 9. Like, they look like midseason. And as I'm watching it, I'm just thinking to myself, what are they doing out there? Like, he hits Jamar Chase on an out that's a ball that's thrown a little bit behind him, and Chase does what he does. He kind of comes back for it and then makes a spin, and he goes to the barn. The other one he threw back shoulder, which was stunning. But the one on the out, he kind of underthrew it a little bit, and then Jamar turned it upfield. And I'm watching this, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, if I'm Bengals ownership and Jamar Chase is sprinting down the sidelines, I'm thinking the whole time, like, don't shift into fifth gear, dude. Like, just coast.
Yeah, don't pop a
Just
hammer.
coast. And it did seem like, I will say this, did seem like there was a conscious effort from the Philadelphia defense. There was one instance when a defensive lineman pulled up. Might have been Jalen. No, it wasn't Jalen Carter. It was one of their defensive linemen kind of pulled up before hitting Burrow. And it was kind of like maybe that there was like a little bit of dialogue, like, hey, don't hit him. Like, stay out of that. Because he did noticeably pull up when he got close to Burrow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we saw some of that around the league. I think maybe there's just some talk about making sure you keep everybody, protected and safe. This is the preseason, because there was another in one of the games we were watching where somebody could have taken a shot at Geno Smith, and now he was a Seahawk, so maybe it was one of his buddies, but absolutely did not take the shot that they could have taken. So the throw you're talking about, that out to Jamar, which was in very many ways similar to the one that was thrown where he did a walk-off, I want to say, against Dallas last year. It was Dallas.
Yeah, you might be right.
It was to the right. So on quarterbacks, they talked about it. So that ball is actually thrown right where he wants it to.
Oh, really?
If they read, in Burrow's mind, if he sees that the corner, that he's beaten him so definitively on the out, there really isn't enough room to throw it outside and have him turn it up. He'll throw it to the inside shoulder so it stops him and allows him to naturally turn up, because if you think about the momentum of the corner who's so trailing,
sure, of course.
He's trailing so much so that when he stops, he's already bringing him back, so that guy can't stop in time to get it. So that's how they get those catch and runs on that out. So he's actually throwing it. In quarterbacks, they talk about, I was like, dude, that's so good.
Great.
He throws
info.
that. He throws that to the inside shoulder if he's beaten him so much on the out that the other guy's like really trying to stress himself to get out, so that he's catching it and turning, and that guy has no chance to put on the brakes. It's like in Top Gun, it's basically he's already putting on the air brake and he flies right by.
He flies right by. That's quarterback masterclass. Quarterback receiver.
Yeah, and receiver, and they're on the same page. They see it.
Yeah.
Jamar talks about it. He's like, I want it on my inside shoulder.
So 2 years at LSU.
It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, 2 years at LSU, then all this time in the pros, like that type of connection, it just takes year upon year and rep upon rep to be able, for Burrow to be able to notice, oh, he's so beat him on the out that if I put it here, because on an out, you never would want a kid throwing it to the inside on an out. You always want it to the boundary. Unless you're doing it at this level of masterclass, and then wow, that's really
that's
cool.
How
that's
they feel
good
like
info.
They can get the catch and runs.
Yeah, and
so
they did. I mean, plus he turns right into the sprint. I mean, he's already turned right back into the sprint, and he's gone, and it's no one's catching him. So
they've thrown that many a time. I had actually last night when I was while I was on at the bar, I was regaling people with that tale, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's really good." I'm like, I knew you would appreciate that.
That's cool.
Listen, when I do the morning bottle with Luca, I often throw quarterbacks on in the background, and that was a good. That was, to me, that was that, and there was some really good golf stuff, obviously, and the whole show's great. But that was one where I was like, oh man.
As you're watching it, and obviously they're not our team, we're not hosting Bengals Daily, but do you find yourself when you watch these these massive stars play in the preseason? I can't help but just be like, just get out of here unhurt. Like, that's in my head constantly.
I think that it's, of course, because there's the reward is nothing.
Right.
The reward is that they hope that this is going to allow them to start the season faster than they've done in years past, right?
Right.
But like the fact that he played in this preseason game really probably doesn't have much bearing to do with how he comes out and plays in the future. Now, they may say different, and who knows? They're playing against us. I hope that it doesn't. I hope they continue to struggle early in the year. But yeah, you don't want to see anybody of consequence in the NFL get hurt. Like Rashawn Slater gets hurt and is done now for the year, down for the Chargers. That's a devastating blow. That's awful. Nobody wants to see any of that stuff. That is not what you ever want to see in the preseason. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that it is a very it's kind of like I'd liken it to when I'm watching, my buddies in a ladder match in the WWE.
Yeah.
If I know somebody in that, where I'm like, all right, I know you're doing this. I know it's a big part of the show. It's a big, but like, just don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Just don't get hurt. Yeah, because the league's better with Joe Burrow in it. The league's better with Jamar Chase in it. The league's better with its stars being stars and playing, so you don't want to see it. Now, it could happen no matter what. I mean, we've lost MJ Emerson in a no-contact situation, so you never know when it can happen. But, yeah, absolutely. I'm watching that being like, all right, cool that he got good work. Get him out of there.
Yeah, that's as I'm watching this stuff, that's all I'm thinking. And then you think about Anthony Richardson, and you detailed what happened on the play, but I mean, he has a dislocated pinky now, and this is a guy who they drafted 4th overall. He's going into his 3rd year. He only started 12 games at the University of Florida. That's it. And he was basically a 50% passer at his time at the University of Florida. They fell in love with him with the measurables and the physicality and all this stuff at the draft. But this guy has not played enough football, man. He's not at all played enough football. And you just see, the project that he would be. And he's probably one of those guys who needed, a 2-year red shirt. Would have been the right thing to do with him. And then, quite honestly, something you and I talk about in the offseason a lot, go play in the UFL for 10 games. He needs a lot of ball, a ton of ball.
Yep.
And the things that got him in Atlanta. And so if you're at Indy, you're like, okay, we're in year 3 with this guy. We drafted him 4th. We don't even really know what we have. I mean, that's the thing that's so hard about this is what do they have with him? If you put yourself in their shoes, it feels like they're kind of ready to move on. But at the same point, what is he, 23?
Yeah, young. Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know what you do there. And now he's not going to get much of a chance because he's going to be down for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and this, this is in addition to, as you've talked about ad nauseum, his inability to necessarily throw the ball accurately, consistently. He just can't stay healthy.
No,
and this is just another knock in that repertoire. It's the preseason is a fascinating thing because it's football. Tonight we're doing it in a way that it makes a lot of sense to me. There's still guys that I'm going to want to see them make plays and then see them get out of there right away. But it's tough when you have somebody that you've invested in for the season. But like we said, Rashawn Slater happened to practice. MJ Emerson happened to practice. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, now it looks like he avoided serious injury, at least as of what I saw last night. I haven't looked into it this morning, but it seems like he avoided serious injury, but that happened to practice. So it's just hard. It's part of unfortunately, it's part of the game, right? It's part of the business.
Yeah, it is.
I'm with you. You want to mitigate risk, but the truth is every time you put a helmet on, even if you're in shorts, there's a risk of injury out there. There just always is.
Yeah. 3 more games tonight, including ours. Of course, that is a 7 o'clock kick. Also kicking at 7 o'clock is Detroit at the Falcons, and then the Commies and Patriots. I've not seen anything. I don't know. Is Vrabel having Drake May play? Because everything coming out of there is, they did the joint practices, so my hunch is no.
I would think not.
Them in Washington did the joint practices.
Yeah, and it felt like there was a little bit of bad blood there in that. We had people brawling, coach brawling, all of that. It looks like, according to some reports, maybe one drive. If he plays at all, it'll be one drive.
Okay, yeah. It sounds like he's had a great camp and played very well in the joint scrimmage with against.
Yeah, people are saying he outplayed
the Commies.
Yeah, some thought he outplayed Jaden Daniels, which would be incredible. I mean, they're very high on him. There's no doubt about it. They are very, very high on him.
Yeah, and I think the best example and the biggest proof of that is the fact that Vrabes went there, because Vrabes could have gone anywhere. He could have waited, and he was only going to go to the right spot, and that one is certainly the right spot, and they're off to a nice start. So we had preseason 3 games last night, 3 more tonight, and of course the headliner being ours. Those are your hot topics of the day, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Coming up next, we'll take a look at this Carolina team, what we expect to see from them tonight, what we expect to see from them as the season goes along. We'll get into that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly. Add more fun to your fandom with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today. Get 50 back in bonus bets. You place the first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. We are down in Carolina to take on the Carolina Panthers in preseason game number 1. What do you anticipate? I think you alluded to this earlier, buddy, but it sounds like maybe a series of 2 for the Carolina starters from Canales tonight.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. I think if they have some success on the first series, that they will go ahead and they will call it after one series. If they don't, I like it's a 3-and-out offensively. I certainly could see them come back out for a little more work. And, this is a team that I think is going to be pretty fun to watch on offense. They've got a good offensive line, Austin Corbett and Robert Hunt, Taylor Moton, Damian Lewis, and then Ekwonu. I always struggle with his name. Ikem Ekwonu.
Yeah.
The first-round pick, Ekwonu. And by the way, that's it. Ekwonu had a tough time with Myles Garrett in practice. I'm sure he's thrilled that he is not going to be playing in this game. But they've got good skill. You look at, they draft Tetero McMillan. They've got Adam Thielen. They've got Xavier Legette. They've got Hunter Renfro's in now. We'll see. He hasn't really done much since 2021, but we'll see if, he's still left in the tank. But they've got some good receivers. I like Jatavian Sanders, who's their tight end out of Texas. 4th-round pick a year ago, had 33 catches for 342 yards. They like him a good deal. And then they really can run the ball. Who would have had this? The Panthers might be the only team in the NFL that has 2 guys on their roster that ran for 1,000 yards in the NFL last year. I can't think of anybody else who would fit that bill.
They had 2,000-yard rushers last year?
Well, they had one, Chuba Hubbard, who ran for a career-high 1,195 yards. He was 8th in the NFL in rushing yards. He ran for 10 touchdowns, 4.8 yards a carry. They signed to a big extension, but one of their big free agent signings this offseason was Rico Dowdle, who ran for 1,079 yards last year for the Dallas Cowboys. They drafted Trevor Etienne. Now, I don't know if people remember, but they drafted Jonathan Brooks last year, and then he tore the same knee. Yeah, tore the same knee again, which is very sad. And then you got Bryce Young. Bryce Young, in his last 3 games last year, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, had a 100-plus rating in all 3. And then his final game last season against Atlanta, in a game Atlanta had to win. It was a playoff game for Atlanta. They had to win to get into the playoffs. In that game, Bryce Young completed 74% of his passes for 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 123 rating, highest of his career, and he added 2 rushing touchdowns. So at the end of the year, Bryce Young was cooking. So they've got a big, good veteran offensive line. Ekwonu is in his 4th season. He's a first-round pick. Damian Lewis in his 6th was a third-round pick. Corbett was a second-round pick in his 8th year now. Robert Hunt a second-round pick in his 6th. And Moton was a second-round pick now in his 9th year. So they've got big dudes up front. Austin Corbett's the smallest one, and he's like morphed into Joel Bitonio. He just looks like a complete off. It's like crazy. They just all end up looking like stud offensive lineman. So I think they're a pretty fun team. McMillan and Legette is built crazy. He is so thick in his lower body. It is wild. McMillan's a big guy, and then they got Thielen. I mean, they've got some real talent here.
Yeah, you mentioned Dowdle. Trevor Etienne at Georgia last year was a guy that didn't have the year probably people thought he would have. But he's an explosive player too. So their running back room has got good depth to it. Kind of beyond that. So my hunch is then for them offensively, once Bryce goes away, are they going to give Andy Dalton, or will they go right to Jack Plummer?
No, it'll be Andy Dalton, who obviously a 3-time Pro Bowler, started 5 games for them a year ago, completed 66% of his passes, 989 yards, 7 touchdowns, 6 picks. He's the number 2. He'll play, I think, a lot. I think that kind of similar to, when Burrow was in there, they're just going to try to get the ball out quickly. I don't think they want to expose him to our pass rushers with that second offensive line, because I'm going to tell you right now, our pass rushers are very good. The depth of our pass rushers, very good. So I think Dalton, he'll be in there for a while, but I expect them probably to try to do whatever they can to keep him safe. He's not going to be, a lot of deep drops and throwing the ball down the field, and then Jack Plummer will come in at the end. And Plummer was the quarterback at Louisville, I guess, before Tyler Shuck went 10-4 there back in 2023 and had a nice season.
Yeah, so that's and then defensively from them, mostly are they going to play their ones defensively too, a series or two? Is that kind of the feeling you got?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see Derek Brown. He didn't participate in the joint practice, so I don't see any reason why they would put him out there. The Pro Bowler from 2023 last year missed all but one game, suffered a knee injury early in that season. So they're looking for him to get back into form because in 2023 he was unbelievable. 2 sacks, 15 quarterback hits, 103 tackles, most tackles by a defensive tackle in the history of the National Football League he had in that Pro Bowl season. They made some moves up front. They brought in Bobby Brown from the Rams. You're going to hear me say that a lot. They brought in Treshaun Wharton from the Kansas City Chiefs, who's 2-time Super Bowl champ. So they've got some big guys up front in this 3-4. Ashawn Robinson's 320, Wharton, Bobby Brown's 330, Brown's 320. And then at the second level, that's really where they got in. They made some moves in terms of bringing people in. They brought in Christian Roseboom, the linebacker from the Rams, who had a career-high 133 tackles a year ago. They brought in Patrick Jones from Minnesota, who had a career-high 7 sacks a year ago. And then they drafted Nick Scorton from Texas A&M, previously at Purdue, who had last year 5 sacks, 14 tackles for loss at Texas A&M. He was their second-round pick. In the third round, they draft Princely Umanmielen. Umanmielen. They've got some names on here.
Man. There's a lot. You're gonna
Umanmielen. Princely Umanmielen. Out of Ole Miss.
Siciliano going to have your hands full tonight with some of these.
I'll just call him Princely. When you're named Princely, you don't really need much.
Need anything else.
Prince went with one name. You're just adding a Lee to that. Princely, fine. He's a guy that they like off the edge as well in their 3-4. Had almost 25 sacks in college. So that's where they've kind of changed there. And back end, J.C. Horn, the Pro Bowler, he's going to be out with a hand. But they brought in Trayvon Merrick, who had been with the Raiders, who had a career-high 104 tackles last year. They got Mike Jackson. They got Nick Scott. They brought Lathan Ransom,
a good player,
the Buckeye. Yeah, was their 4th-round pick this year. So, yeah, that's where they're at. And then Shaw Smith-Wade is their nickel, who was their 5th-round pick a year ago, had a nice season as a rookie. So that's where they're at. They play 3-4. Big defense, big guys up front, not as big out on the edges. So I think it'll be a fun matchup for the Browns. But yeah, they're going to get their starters in there on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it feels like Tampa's the cream of this, and then it's kind of a race between Atlanta and Carolina for who's got second. And I think most people think it'll be Atlanta, but there's some juice for this Carolina team.
There's definitely some juice for this Carolina team. There's no doubt, and it's a lot of it has to do with, I think, how fun we have thought, that this offense can be.
Yeah,
housekeeping's coming in. We're good on the radio. Thank you very much.
Come on in. How long you been there? Like 6 nights? You probably know him by first name.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. There you are behind enemy lines for the Carolina Panthers for the preseason debut tonight between your Cleveland Browns and your Carolina Panthers. Z went one-on-one with Coach for the Coach's Show. We will have that for you. What positions will he put Shedeur Sanders in tonight? How will they get success offensively? You're going to hear from the man who's going to be making the calls coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly. Fill your game day cooler with the refreshing taste of Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Smooth, real brewed tea. 5% kick of alcohol. Look for the bright yellow cans. Twisted Tea. Keep it twisted. Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly. The following is courtesy of the Kevin Stefanski Show on the Cleveland Browns Radio Network. Here is Z, one-on-one with Coach.
All right, Coach, before we...
You're down over 13 minutes.
Season opener tomorrow night, let's take a step back and look at yesterday in that joint practice. That was first opportunity to get some work against another football team. Overall, big picture, how do you think that the Cleveland Browns did?
Yeah, I was really pleased with yesterday. I thought the guys competed like crazy, which is part of this when you're going up against somebody in a different color jersey. So they did a nice job really on the offensive side, defensive side, special teams, that effort that's required. Was it perfect? No. That's what, we're chasing that perfection, but we can teach off of some of the moments. But I thought our really good players played really good, and I think that's a great thing for us as these guys are starting to round into football shape's not the right way of putting it because it's not a conditioning thing, but as they round into football form, getting ready for week one.
Well, one of the things that you talked about, kind of, I think day one of training camp, we got to callous our minds, callous our bodies, and for the first time in your tenure here, and if I'm wrong about that, correct me, but we've had multiple live tackling periods, including one that was a 20-plus minute period. So let's just go to the genesis of that decision. How did you arrive at that point? And I can tell you, I heard and talked to multiple guys come out the field who were like, we were way more prepared for this joint practice than our opponents were.
Well, I would tell you, we did go live previously, but it was in COVID. So I don't know if maybe that year doesn't count because there was no preseason. So in our tenure, yes, we have gone live. But I think the big picture, Nathan, is every season you look at your football team and you try to figure out what they need to get ready for the season. And I look at what we've done in the past or haven't done in the past, and are there opportunities or things that can get our football team ready for week one. So thought that there were some opportunities to change up a little bit of our practice schedule, as you mentioned, and certainly the live part is a part of that as well. And then going against an opponent in week one of the preseason. We have not done that before. So I think if you couple those live periods with an extra practice versus a team in week one, that leads to a lot of the decisions in not playing the starters in the game versus Carolina because they've gotten upwards of, call it 36, 40 plays in a live or very competitive thud period versus another team.
Did you get the sense your players enjoyed it? I certainly get the sense that they felt very good about where they're at because of those periods.
Yes, and listen, we've all been around a long time where live was just it used to be just part of training camp, and there's been, the evolution of football is real, and the safety and something we take very seriously. Having said that, if there's opportunities to do it in a safe environment, and what I would point out is the guys, we had all those live plays and we didn't sustain injuries from those. And the reason is we had buy-in from our football team and our defensive players tackled up high. We didn't have any low tackling. We didn't have any cut blocks, obviously. We didn't bring the tight end across and cut the defensive end down. So I think there's ways to do it and do it in a safe environment.
So it was a good success yesterday. You saw what you wanted to see. Let's talk about the quarterbacks because all of them did get some work, and we know that we won't see Joe and then Kenny and Dylan are nursing their hamstring injuries. But what did you see in the periods that they were able to get?
Yeah, I thought they all did a nice job trying to get everybody as much work as we can when we're down here. Obviously, Shedeur will get the majority of the game, so he's going to get, call it 50 plays of game work, which I think will be great for him. I think Snoop will get him in there later in the game as well. Want to be smart about that with the fact that Tyler just got here, so don't want to just throw him out there. But if he's ready, we'll get him out there as well. And then in the practice itself, trying to make sure that they all get their moments. Obviously, Kenny and Dylan are limited by their injuries right now, so they could really only do 7-on-7. And if we put them in a team drill, it was catch, set, throw, and get the ball out, not asking them to move too much.
How about Snoop, who was and I know it was very well liked in the locker room and certainly in the building last year in training camp, and you get him back in here, sign him on a Tuesday, he gets on a plane, and he practices on Wednesday. Yeah,
I love him. Snoop's one of my favorite guys, favorite teammate. This guy just loves ball. I mean, eats it, drinks it, sleeps it. He wants to spend every waking minute in this meeting room watching tape. So it's been really fun just having him back around. His energy is infectious. and the kid just wants to be part of a football team. And luckily, we were in need of somebody that could come in and operate quickly. The fact that he was with us last season, although we've evolved quite a bit, he has enough of a general understanding of our terminology where he can go out and play.
Everybody's excited to see the rookies. First preseason game, you get to see them. You got to see them in the competitive situation yesterday. But, from Mason on down, we mentioned the quarterbacks, but Mason and Harold and Dylan and Carson, how did they do in your eyes? And are you also excited to see them actually play football for the first time?
I am. Now, it's interesting because Dylan Sampson has been tackled, it feels like 50 times in practice by our guys. So
Yes.
I've seen
By
a
Carson,
lot,
in fact.
By Carson. I've seen a lot of that. So I think this first game is really a step in that direction. Let's get them in their uniform. Let's get them through a pregame warm-up. Let's get them some game action, but it's not an extended look. That extended look will come later, but they've gotten a ton of good reps in practice and in these joint sessions.
When you look at kind of this roster as you go through and maybe from injury, some of the questions that arise, for example, in the cornerback room, how big is this game in your evaluation of, okay, we've got Greg, and we played Greg outside, we played Greg inside. We know where Denzel's going to be, but we need to find that third corner. Is that going to be a nickel that's going to keep Greg outside the whole time, or is that third corner actually, do we like it? We go with the base, we have Greg outside, and when it comes to the nickel, he slides back in as he did with MJ. How big is this game and really the next probably 2 weeks for that position, solidifying, okay, who's cornerback 4?
Yeah, it's a big deal, and that's what training camp's about, the preseason's about. While we're getting the team ready, we're also evaluating our players, and part of an evaluation is putting them in the best position, literally, to succeed. So take a offensive player, is he best inside as a slot receiver? Is he best outside as a tight end? Hey, do we like him in line or do we like him more as an F? So that's the same conversation you're having with a lot of your corners. Is this guy a better inside-outside player? Does he have flex? So I think part of it with MJ's injury is we do have to see what the best combination is for our players. Greg's a football player. Greg could play inside. Greg could play outside. Greg could play safety. In the meantime, we'll get him some work outside as Greg gets healthy, and then figure out our guys that we feel really good about, what they look like inside. And I'd point out 2 guys in particular, Cam Mitchell and Miles Harden, have played for us and have played well and played inside. So we just are going to continue our evaluation of them over the next few weeks.
So they'll play a lot then?
Correct.
Okay. One of the things we always like, the All Berea guys, and I think certainly in the receiver room, we had a couple. Luke Flory has made a lot of plays. He's looked very good, created separation, then Gage Larvin has consistently made plays as well. For those guys, this is kind of a real reward, right? An opportunity on a big stage to keep going forward like that. When you see these young guys that you guys are able to kind of find and they're able to have that success, number one, as a coach, I'm sure that's got to be somewhat rewarding. And number two, what do you want to see with the lights on with those guys?
I think the big thing, and you mentioned the lights, and it's true, and we'll actually meet with the rookies about this very thing. You have to take the practice field to the game field. What you don't want to do is, hey, the lights are on, I want to go perform, I want to go do something different than I've done on the practice field, and that would be the complete opposite of what you should do. You should just take that preparation, all the work you've done on the field, in the meeting rooms, and apply that into the game, regardless of the fact that they're keeping score and it's in a game setting under the lights, like you mentioned. But if those guys just continue to do what they have been doing, they'll be just fine.
All right. Yesterday, we saw some field goals attempted at very small uprights, but they weren't even straight. I don't know exactly what they were going for with those uprights.
Those are called the skinnies.
The skinnies. Yeah, I've seen skinnies, though. We have skinnies, but they're at least still upright. These were very wonky. Nonetheless, Dustin Hopkins was splitting these wonky uprights. Seems like he's had a very good off-season kicking the ball. What have you seen from him? Because 2 years ago, he was so good, so instrumental in many ways in our ability to get to the playoffs. Last year, not as good from him. What have you seen, and how confident are you that he can return to that form?
Yeah, I'm very confident, and he's been with the team all spring long. He committed to being at the off-season program, committed to getting better. He's been incredible through off-season, been incredible through these training camp practices, and then this is, again, the next step for him is going in these preseason games and grooving that ball and seeing that ball come off your foot and make sure that your technique is where you want it. But I want to get him some opportunities in these games as well, just so he can take all that hard work that he's been doing in the off-season and apply it here.
One thing we've been kind of searching for during your tenure is a kick returner, and it feels like in DeAndre Carter we have one. For a variety of reasons, they have never quite yet made it to the season. We'll knock on wood that is not the case one more time. How do you plan to use him? Because I know you want to get him some work, but at the same time, it's like we know the history. We want him week 1 against Cincinnati.
Yeah, DeAndre won't return in this game.
Okay.
He's gotten a ton of good work in practice. He's a vet. We've seen he has a ton of reps on tape. So we'll get him some work in games coming up here, but this one felt like the right decision was just to take a look at some of the other guys.
Has he shown you a little more, maybe even as a receiver, than perhaps we expect? I know he had the 500-yard season with the Chargers, but he's made a lot of plays.
Yeah, he's a guy that we really, really trust. You can put him out there really playing any position. You know he's going to do his job, do it at a high level, run his route, catch the ball. Pretty simple thought process, but he's a guy that we're not saying is just a returner. He can give us depth in the wide receiver room.
One of the things I think is always cool about it when I observe you coaching is when a legend comes back. You're always so interested in talking with him. I loved being a fly on the wall when you came over and talked to Bernie and I during that preseason practice. Well, you have a legend back right now who's coaching, the Hoff, Joe Thomas, and really has kind of taken DeJuan under his wing, and it's been awesome watching. I know Joe's super thrilled to be doing it. It seems like DeJuan is really thriving under his tutelage. That's got to seem like a cool bonus. And now Joel Bitonio said you guys are trying to pull together a fund to bring him in full time here. But what's it been like seeing Joe work and work with a guy like DeJuan?
Yeah, Coach Thomas, as we call him, is doing a great job. Yeah, I don't think we can afford him, unfortunately.
Gibbe knows. Big rate, Coach.
But Joe is obsessed with technique. He loves technique. I mean, he could talk it all day. So we're pulling that out of him, and certainly DeJuan is a beneficiary. But I'll tell you, our line coaches are loving having Joe around and just hearing how he talks about the game. The minutia of that position, I don't think the average viewer or listener gets a feel for that and how much goes into these players along the offensive line. It can look thankless at times. It can look just physical at times. But there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and Joe's desire to pass along his knowledge of technique has been fun to watch.
We got Gibby right next to us. Gibby, I think we need to find the clip. There was a clip from Browns Daily a few years ago where I asked Joe simply the question, what went through your mind from the time the play was called to the time the ball was snapped? He talked 20 minutes nonstop about the checklist, and now he'd get Terrell Suggs because of where his toe was, and he used to drive just the minutia for somebody that good, and then to think that they're also a supercomputer. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's incredible. And again, all of that, what he's doing is trying to pass that along to our young players. Obviously, DeJuan playing left tackle, and Joe knows that position well. I think we're so lucky to be able to have a guy that can stand there, talk to DeJuan, has the credentials that not very few have, and the respect, and it's been fun to watch.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this one because I know we like one-on-ones, and I'm sure you get in the film room after a joint practice, and there's some good ones. Miles, the Euro step was pretty good, but did Alex right, and it's so great to see him back basically flipping a guy, a giant grown man over. That had to get you pretty fired up.
Well, he did it in one-on-ones. He also did it on kickoff. Yeah,
he did flatten somebody on kickoff.
Alex he's a no fair dodge, and he's going straight ahead and get out of his way. But that's he's got a great skill set. Great to have him back out there healthy. But he plays the game really at one speed, and you saw it the other day.
For a guy like him, take Isaiah, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who's come in, Okwara has looked good. Tom, I mean, there's a lot. That room has a lot of guys. Is this a real opportunity? And it's a rotation, so everybody's going to play. That's the way Jim does it. But, you're going to get a little bit against the starters. Like, are those 12 plays where you see maybe guys who are in that mix for a role? Okay, now you're going against their starters. Is that some real good tape to try to pull out of here?
Yeah, I think, yes, it's all part of the evaluation, but you're exactly right. Those backup, that end position is extremely competitive, and I like all those guys. They all play with great effort, so that's definitely one to watch, and they're going to make tough decisions for us.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure you're excited to see your team play some football tomorrow night. Coach, thanks for the time and best of luck.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan.
All right, good stuff with Z and Coach there from the Cleveland Browns Radio Network and the Kevin Stefanski Show from last night. Coming up next, he will be the voice of the play-by-play on the television. He's a great friend of the program. He's Chris Rose. He joins us to kick off the second hour. Bernie Kosar in the second hour as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly. Elk Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. When you turn on the television tonight, you will hear the voice of the play-by-play announcer in the preseason on the television side of things of the great friend of the program, Chris Rose. He joins me the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Chris, we were trying to put this. You've been around. You've done a lot of this stuff, man. This is such a unique experience tonight for a fifth-round pick. Essentially, hey, here's the ball. Enjoy the game. Going to get a ton of snaps. Everyone's been clamoring for it. You're going to get it. Do you have anything like this in your career in terms of what is otherwise a meaningless first preseason game to have this type of juice behind it?
Yeah, so he's not the first, fifth rounder or whatever to start game one of a preseason. I mean, last year, for example, the Panthers started Jack Plummer, whom I think you're going to see plenty of tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Guys have started when you're like, okay, that's interesting. But there has never been a player like this that I can remember that has entered the NFL draft the way that he did and now continues to be the narrative that he is. There's nothing. Zero. I cannot come up with a name. I can't come up with a situation in terms of a team that has been searching for its quarterback, it feels like, for the better part of 3+ decades. It just, I cannot wait. I think it's going to be absolutely insane in a fun way.
Chris, what is it that you want to see or you're hoping to see from Shedeur Sanders tonight?
So, by the way, I couldn't be invited down to the room. What, it's you and Gibby, and there's what happened, Nathan?
No, you could certainly come down. I'm in Gibbe's room. Gibbe is gone. The only other person that's been in here so far is the housekeeper. Gibbe's on the bus, and then I got to take this Comrex down. So I don't even know if there's another headset here, to be honest with you. I don't know what our capabilities are.
By the way, better leave a tip for the house cleaner.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys tip daily or do you tip at the end of the stay?
You tip at the end of the stay.
At the end of the stay.
That's what I think too. But then the thing I was concerned about is what if it's a different housekeeper, or do we just assume they all pool that?
Yeah, it's like servers and bus boys and bus girls, right? You got pool.
I think so.
I hope so, because I never know what to do on that. I do what you guys do, but every once in a while I think about it, I'm like, God, this is like day 3 of a 5-nighter. Like, am I sure it's going to be the same person all the time?
Right.
I hope they pool it.
By the way, after which drive do we have this discussion? Should Joe Thomas and I have this discussion?
Do that when Shedeur goes out.
Ah, nice. Still programming, Bo.
I'm here for you. I'm here for you, buddy.
Hey, it's actually a legit question. It's really good.
What do you want to see from him tonight? Shedeur, not Joe.
Oh, or the house cleaner.
Yeah.
I'd like mints on the pillow. They don't do that anymore.
No.
Thing of the past. Good callback, Rose. So, what do I want to see? I would like to see him stripe it a couple times. I want to see some good throws downfield. I really do. But most importantly, I want to see that he looks like he belongs. Mm-hmm. Too often, you get guys, particularly guys who've been sacked a lot in college, try and keep plays alive. Everything's got to be extended. The philosophy of throw it away and live for another play. Like, what quarterback every year leads the NFL in throwing the ball away? Do you guys know what this is?
My guess is Patrick Mahomes.
No, it's always Aaron Rodgers. Always.
Interesting.
He lives to see another day, and that's why his interception numbers are always so low when his touchdown numbers were through the roof. Because he understood that the defense is going to screw up at some point. It's a little bit, I hate to mix sports, because I know, Nathan, you're not a huge baseball guy. But
I was in my day.
I know, but not anyway. I about jumped through the phone when Siciliano goes the other day that Gavin Williams is throwing a no-hitter, and you guys are both like, who? I wanted to come strangle you.
So you have to understand that's just, yeah.
That's all our
shtick. That's just the end. Yeah. Because he talks baseball all the time on our show.
He tries to sneak it in, and so every time he sneaks it in, I'm like, no, is that a team? What is that sport? I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Got it. All right. The only reason
All
I'm
you
doing
LA
it is
guys,
because
all you
hitters
LA
will-
guys just want to talk baseball all the time.
It's not true. I'm using this as a football reference. Baseball guys will tell you the only way that home runs happen is when pitchers make mistakes. And a lot of times in the NFL, the defense will do something that will open the door for the offense. Sometimes it's an amazing throw, right? It happens. But occasionally something gets screwed up. There's a community. So it's okay to live to see another play. And
Yeah.
I want to see that part of his game. That would show maturation. That would show that, yes, he's worked on something that was a shortcoming for him in college. Things of that nature. He's not going to know it all tonight.
Right.
We know that.
Yep.
And so it's okay. You want to see him improve in an area or two, not in 12.
No, I think that's right. I think to me it's kind of the pre-snap operation in the huddle, getting people lined up, all of that, and then post-snap, right. Be decisive. Get rid of the football. Don't hold on too long. Don't try to make too many plays. And I think, Kevin Stefanski is going to give him a playbook tonight that are things that he's comfortable with and things that they feel confident that he's going to be able to execute and that he feels confident in. And that's what we're going to get to see here tonight. Beyond Shedeur, which is obviously what I think everybody's eyes are upon. I mean, we've seen the ticket prices for this game are ludicrous, more than a Carolina Panthers regular season game. So clearly that's what the majority want to see. The reality is, he's not going to be the day one starter for the Cleveland Browns. Beyond that, what is it that you are really excited about to see tonight?
I don't know how long either of them will play, but Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger, the strength of this team is going to have to be that side of the football. And I know that Kevin Stefanski spoke glowingly about both of them, Nathan, on the call we were on with him. And, he was saying that Mason Graham is a guy that you'll be able to line up next to Myles Garrett. And I know some people, when we drafted him, were like, well, he was a read and react guy at Michigan, and can he really go forward, or is he just a side-to-side dude that can hold the offensive lineman and then make a play? Well, I think that, just because he did something well at Michigan doesn't mean that he can't do something exceptionally well in Jim Schwartz's defense. So is he going to become Aaron Donald? Okay, probably not. Aaron Donald's kind of a one-on-one guy, maybe the best ever to play at the position. But can he create matchups for himself and Myles Garrett together? That's something that's appetizing. And then Carson Schlesinger, let's be honest, when we drafted him at the beginning of day 2, people are like, okay, interesting story, but off-ball linebacker for the first pick when this team has other needs? Well, we all know that JOK, he's not going to be there in 2025 at the very least. And then the Jordan Hicks thing came out of pretty much nowhere. So he goes from, oh, well, how's he going to fit in this room to, damn, that's a good pick, hopefully. And I really believe that this guy, he hasn't played a ton of football in terms of getting opportunity, right? He was a walk-on at UCLA. He rode the pine and was a special teamer for years. And his one crack at starting, he lit the world on fire and did a great job for them. And I expect him to do the same. And I honestly believe that, 10 years down the line, we're going to look back at that pick and say, there's a few that we really got right, after the first round. Nick Chubb, and I think that a Carson Schlesinger might not be in the same breath, but you might look back at it and say, damn good pick.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, as you're talking about those guys, Chris, you say to yourself, boy, they all really need to be now. I mean, Mason Graham needs to be an absolute dude up front, like an impact maker right away. Schlesinger's going to play. I mean, he's going to play all the time. He's going to start. He's going to have to be one of the focal points, of the defense. And then you stay in that rookie room because we're waiting on Quinshon Judkins. We kind of all think the offense is going to be kind of built around his style, and he's obviously not here. I think about Fannin, so you're talking about a D tackle, a linebacker, and a tight end. And if going back before we drafted, would I have thought those would be the position marks and the importance that they're going to play on this season? Probably not. That wouldn't have been on my bingo card. But all three of them, to me, if we're going to have success, they've got to be great. And fans are going to get their first look at those guys tonight.
Yep. I mean, I think Harold Pham's going to be terrific in this offense. I really do. I'm excited, in part because he reminds me, he runs a little bit the way that Carlos Baerga used to run in the 90s. for the Indians. Once again, I know another baseball reference.
Carlos Baerga. Now you're talking. That's my time frame. Now I'm dialed in.
But it's the only funny running that I can compare it to, because I'm kind of a funny runner. I'm more of a wobbler than anything else. So dudes who have kind of an unorthodox running style, I'm all in on. Like, I think there's a real big place in society for people like that. We need more of them. And so, Harold Fannin, go do your thing.
I'll tell you what, you drop a Corey Snyder reference up on this show, and I'm just going to be like Vince Vaughn and say, kindly leave. Like, if we get to that point where we're getting that
Brooks
deep
Jacoby.
in the
Maybe an Andy Allenson. Andy Allenson.
Andy Allenson. I saw him. My brother met him at a high school baseball game in California. He looked over and he texts me. He goes, I think Andy Allenson is a parent on the other team. I was like, you have to go say hi. And sure enough, he introduced himself. Andy Allenson loved every minute of it.
Andy Allenson was on the wrong end and probably the expected end of when I was a younger lad, there was an A's Indians brawl, and Mark McGuire got the better of Andy Allenson, which is probably no surprise in retrospect.
Yes.
Well, but it will never compare to the Pat Corrales attempting the karate kick against Dave Stewart that ended badly for the then Indians manager. Please go spin up that clip on YouTube, youngsters.
I certainly will. By the way, Dave Stewart was not a man to be trifled with.
Who goes at Dave Stewart?
Yeah,
what is
somebody
wrong
who
with
wants
you?
to lose. Somebody who's
it's like Ventura going at Nolan Ryan.
At
like,
Nolan
come on,
Ryan.
man.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is all going to be the I'm curious from your vantage point out on the left coast, because one thing that's been really frustrating, and this will be about Shedeur tonight. I mean, we can act like it's about other things, but it's mostly going to be about Shedeur. And one thing that's been frustrating, Chris, for us locally, and those of like Nathan and I in the building, obviously, the incredible disconnect between what's actually happening with Shedeur and what is perceived to be.
Right.
How do you think how did it get to this point where there's such a disconnect, and what do you make of how the Browns have handled him?
There's been a disconnect since day one, right? I mean, it started in February when we were all at the Combine. He didn't throw there, but we were all trying to figure out, okay, well, there's a ton of teams in the top 10 who need quarterbacks. Like, is somebody going to come up and move? Like, we feel like Cam Ward is the number one guy. We're pretty sure that's the way it's going to go. But then, the Browns are next. Will somebody, do they love Shedeur? Do they not? I mean, let's go back 7 months, 6 months, and remember what happened there. There were way more people that thought he was going to be a top 5 or top 10 pick than thought he had any chance of, forget about tumbling to the 5th round, but getting out of night one.
Yes.
He wasn't going to get past Pittsburgh, guys.
No way.
That was not going to happen. Not going to happen. And then all of a sudden it did. And I remember I was working the pre-draft show with MJD and David Carr, and David Carr looked at me and he said, Chris, I'm not so sure he goes in the first 2 nights. I was like, DC, that can't possibly be. He said, no, dude, I'm serious. And sure enough, he went day 3. Mm-hmm. Well, there's still a lot of people that see him as the top 5 pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're not going to move off of that. And that's their prerogative. By the way, he might end up being that talented in the NFL. I think it's a lot longer shot, but it could happen. So that's where it all started. And then it continued with people who I believe are doing a disservice, and some of them are on national TV, of saying that the Browns are mismanaging him. He's a lottery ticket, guys.
That's exactly
He's a real
right.
famous lottery ticket, but he is a lottery ticket. And if I've done the research, in the last 10 drafts, if you include this one that we just had, that's dating back to 2016, there will only be 3 quarterbacks that were drafted after the first night that are going to start on opening weekend, assuming everybody's healthy. And the 3 are Jalen Hurts, taken in round 2, and, oh, by the way, drafted after they had just given their starting quarterback a $100 million deal. So everybody's like, Howie Roseman, what the hell are you doing? Dak Prescott, who fell to the 4th round. I think he had a legal issue that dropped him to the 4th round. Probably would have been a second rounder. and then Brock Purdy, who's the greatest lottery ticket since Tom Brady,
Ever.
who was the last pick in the draft. That's it. That is it. So to look at him as anything but that, to me, is unhealthy. Now, I'm not telling people how to look at it, but that's the way I see it. So, yes, it makes sense that he's fourth on the depth chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, you're right about it, and we went through it last year of the teams that went to the playoffs. The only team that went to the playoffs that didn't have a quarterback drafted in the first round was the Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles.
And
in terms of, and the Steelers last year rolled Russ in the third. Maybe it was the top 12 offenses. Do you remember what it was? Maybe it was the top 12 offenses.
Yeah, I think
in the
that's
NFL.
What
it was all first rounds except for Hurts, and 6 of them were first or second overall picks. That's what it was, top offenses.
Right.
Right. That's the league, and I guess Russ, if he starts for the Giants, technically would count as well. But it is a lottery ticket, and that's the exact verbiage we've used on this program. I think the disconnect for a lot of people is that when you watch him solely on tape, there was not a single person that we spoke to at the Combine, and we talked to everybody at the Combine who does this for a living, that didn't view him as a first or a second round prospect. And yet he goes in the 5th round. So that tells you that there are things that are not readily apparent on tape that caused him to slide the way that he did. And so that's why we've heard he's got a bigger learning curve than Dylan Gabriel or maybe other rookies that are coming into the league. There's no doubt his tape at Colorado was good, very accurate with the football. Yes, you can say he held onto the ball too long, tried to make plays, was behind a bad offensive line, took too many sacks. Those are things that you want to see tonight that he's, made adjustments on, absolutely. But it's going to be all the things that we don't see that are going to have a bigger say on whether or not Shedeur Sanders is able to become a starting quarterback and a successful one in the NFL than really what it is that we do see. Now, you would imagine that what we don't see will manifest itself in what we do see. But there's a lot that goes into playing that position. And I think that that's kind of the disservice that's been done, is that he was, you had people ranting and raving throughout this draft at what a shock it was. And people who are very well respected.
Yeah.
Right? Mel Kiper was beside himself as this was unfolding. He was Bucky Brooks' top quarterback in this draft. So you have a lot of people that were surprised, and it's created and he's already a ready-made superstar in many ways, that it's created probably the most unique. There was a movie, they said, it's the perfect storm. It's the perfect storm of everything in this society coming together for a preseason football game.
So let's just look at it and accept it for what it should be tonight.
Yep.
And that is the celebration of a kid who has worked hard to get to where he is. He's going to get an opportunity. I don't know, regardless of how he plays, how much it moves what the Browns think of him. I don't know. You would presume that if he lights it up, if he throws for 280 yards and a couple of touchdowns and only gets sacked once and plays a clean game, well, we know what everybody's going to be talking about Monday nationally. But it's so interesting what we think is noisy and what people inside of a professional sports organization think is noisy. It's really interesting. Because we think, oh, my God, here's the tidal wave that's coming with when you drafted Shedeur Sanders into a team that's looking for a franchise quarterback. They have to hear it. I don't think they do. I think they have tunnel vision on what their process is, and we can sit here and criticize the process because we can see what has gone right and what's gone wrong on the field. So people can have an opinion about that. But about the stuff that we can't see, Nathan, that you just talked about, that stuff is so important. And when it comes out of the mouths of people who have played the sport, to me, that's borderline irresponsible, because then you're throwing out a narrative out there that is not 100% accurate.
Yep.
And that's a tough one. It's more than just an opinion. Then you're starting to dismiss some things that are facts, and that's a tough go.
Buddy, enjoy it. Going to be a fun one tonight. Look forward to hearing you as we all watch tonight. Thank you for your time as always, pal.
All right. Always appreciate it. And, Nathan, you're going to have to, even though it's not your room, it's Gibby's room, you're the one who's going to have to leave the tip because you're last one out, and we know Dan.
I will say I see a bill. I do see a bill on his desk, so good job, Gibby.
Well, hold on. If it's a single, then we know where it was. He mistakenly left that from wherever he was.
God. Rose. Going to just a side swipe of Gibby when he's not even here to
Just
defend.
unbelievable.
We're for
I know.
it. I'm for it.
Don't
I'm for
worry.
it.
I'm sure I'll be getting a text for that one
All right, buddy.
soon.
See you, pal.
See you, boys.
There he goes. Chris
Bye.
Rose, television play-by-play voice in the preseason of your Cleveland Browns, joining on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. One of the guys we're excited to see tonight is Harold Fannin Jr. Andrew Siciliano went one-on-one with him. We'll have that for you coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Fans enter the Dog Dash sweepstakes presented by Milk-Bone for a chance to have your pup compete in the annual dog races during halftime of the Browns-Dolphins game on October 19th. Grand prize includes 2 season tickets for the 26th season and Milk-Bone for a year. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/milkbone to enter. This now from the Kevin Stefanski Show last night, the radio voice of your Cleveland Browns, Andrew Siciliano, breaking down a conversation with tight end Harold Fannin Jr. before his first NFL game.
Right, Harold Fannin.
You're down 5.5.
Like a couple weeks of training camp in the books. You guys got the joint practice, but now on the eve of your very first NFL game, how are you feeling? How excited are you for this?
I'm feeling great. You know what I mean? Obviously very excited to get out there and go out there and, just play football again. And, that's really it. It's really exciting.
Family coming, friends, anyone? I know it's the road and the rain in Charlotte in the preseason, not a home game, but anyone going to be in the stands?
No, but I know people are going to be watching, so yeah.
Have you thought about, I'm guessing you did as a little kid, but now the moment's here. Have you thought about running out of the tunnel for the very first time as an NFL player?
No, I ain't never really thought that far, but obviously I'm here. So, obviously now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a dope experience.
Anxious? Nerves at all?
Man, I'm just ready to go, man. It's been a long wait, camp. I'm just ready to go.
Did you get a little taste of it with the joint practice? Did that feel like kind of a little bit of a move up in weight class at all?
No, it just felt like practice. Obviously game day, everybody's going to be turned up way more. So, yeah, just ready for that.
So everyone always says they have their, welcome to the NFL wow moment. Have you had that moment yet?
Where I was just like, wow? Nah, not yet. Hopefully I don't have it this game either.
You'll know it when you see it, right?
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
Okay. So as we get ready for this game, have you any idea how much you're going to play?
Yeah, obviously we're going to rotate and things like that, get all the guys in rep. But, yeah, I'm definitely playing this game, yeah.
Okay, good. We're looking forward to that. Shedeur is playing as well. Same rookie class here. Have you thought about what that moment's going to be like for him? Pretty cool, rookie quarterback getting his first start on the road in the preseason.
Yeah, for him, that's definitely going to be dope. Everybody asking all the questions, and, I guess tomorrow would be the time for him to prove it,
Are you getting that, from friends and family? What's the guy like?
Yeah, everybody always want to know, about the quarterbacks of the Browns. But, tomorrow's his shot, man. I'm behind them. Obviously, I'm going to be playing with them, so we're going to show them.
Hey, it's a shot for everybody here. But let's go back to the draft. Andrew Berry said, do you play chess, by the way?
No.
Well, Andrew Berry called you the queen on the chessboard. The queen is the most powerful player on the board. Go left, can go right, can go up, can go down, can go diagonally. And he said that you're the queen of the chessboard because, hey, you could stand up, you can go out wide, you could put your hand down, we could put you in the backfield, you could run the jet sweep, you could do almost anything. What's that like when you get out there during training camp and you don't just have a traditional tight end role to learn? You're kind of learning every bit of the offense.
I guess just learn the playbook might be a little bit stressful, but whenever we just hike the ball, we play. It's just football at the end of the day. I guess I'm going to have to, stay a little longer, get some extra work done, just actually know what I'm doing, how they want it done, things like that. But, yeah, it's just football.
The other thing he said is people just assume you're not a blocker because you got these big stats. But most people say when they look at tight ends coming out of the draft that they want to see a willingness to block, right? As long as the guy's able to, as I say, put his face in the fan, be willing to block, then we can work with that player coming into the NFL. How do you feel your blocking game is going?
I feel like you described it perfect. You know what I mean? It ain't pretty, but, obviously I just got to get the job done, whatever to, help the team to win.
You have to line up against Miles sometimes in practice, right?
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
What's that been like?
Oh, man. I just sometimes be sitting there man, I hope he drop back in coverage, which he never does. But it's definitely a learning experience, and obviously he's better than me because, how great he is at what he's doing.
But you're not the only one, right? If he beats you, DeJuan's got to deal with it. Joint practice yesterday, Ike Ekwonu, the Panthers left tackle, who's a former top 10 pick. There was one move where Miles kind of did a Euro step on him, and the dude just whiffed. So
I mean, you're not alone in this.
Most definitely not. I mean, everybody kind of just got to experience it. But yeah, man. Well, Miles, you're not really thinking about, you just really think I just need to hold up for this amount of time. You're not really thinking about blocking or dominating them in the pass or anything like that.
Harold Fanner, what's the tight end room been like for you? What's David Njoku taught you, if anything, so far? He's got a big personality.
Yeah, I feel like just David. I definitely say like his aura around him. He just kind of got to just want you to show your personality. Just be yourself, really. And obviously working with them, being on the field with them is, it's been awesome. Obviously, he got a lot of experience, so just trying to take, how he does his game and try to kind of put that into my game.
You're not going to totally walk in his shoes, so to speak. You're going to keep your shirt on walking around the building, right?
Yeah, not that far. Just show a little bit more personality, not that much.
Well, hope to see some of that personality. Hope to see maybe even in the end zone as well. Harold Fannin, good luck in your NFL debut for the Browns against the Carolina Panthers.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, there you go. Andrew with Harold Fannin Jr., who will make his debut tonight as well. Obviously, the headliner is Shedeur Sanders, who will debut tonight. Bernie Kosar knows a little bit about debuts at the quarterback position. He will join us coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Ballybet Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly. Fans enter the Dog Dash sweepstakes presented by Milkbone. You get a chance to have your pup compete in the annual dog races during halftime of the Browns versus Dolphins game on October 19th. Grand prize includes 2 season tickets for the 2026 season and Milkbone for a year. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/milkbone to enter. And we head out on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. He is the iconic Bernie Kosar, and he joins us there. This is a 5th-round pick. He's going to get a ton of plays. We heard from the coaches show last night from Kevin Stefanski, 50 reps or so for Shedeur. The ball has been given to him. Bernie, you want opportunity? I would say Shedeur has one tonight, my friend.
Yeah, I'd like to sit here today talking to you like this mature, wise, veteran quarterback. But right now I feel like that little boy fanboy looking forward for the first preseason game. That's for a guy who played 12 years in the NFL, I'm almost embarrassed to be saying how excited I am for a preseason game. But really, deep down, at the end of the day, I really am. And for Shedeur to get this opportunity tonight, I'm really looking forward to this. And Bo, earlier in the week when we were together talking about me, you, and Nathan, we were really concerned about horrible weather today, and it hasn't been optimal the last couple of days, but looks like it's a positive weather day today with not a ton of rain and wind. So it'll be, I believe, a kind of a fair representation for Shedeur to kind of showcase his resourcefulness that we've been seeing in training camp so far. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right, Bernie, take us into kind of your mind. What is it that you're watching for? Let's start pre-snap. What are you going to be watching for Shedeur Sanders pre-snap tonight?
So watching for the traditional things you would expect of confidence, control, being on time, not the free snap penalties, and not being overly rushed. But a lot of that goes without saying and may be a big expectation, knowing how in a preseason game without the starters, substitutions in any situation, even with experience, is a challenge. So that in itself is a challenge for it. But I'm kind of looking for really how the evolution of his game, of trying not to do too much today. I really like how in training camp he's been taking what the coach Stefanski system is giving and playing within himself. And I besides kind of wanting to see that type of maturity and kind of confidence that he's showing in practice, I'd also like to see him kind of have that transfer, obviously, to the game tonight.
Bernie, as you've observed all of quite most of his reps in training camp, what do you think Kevin said last night in the coaching? We're going to put him in positions as many as we can. What would that be? How would you define that? Like positions, what can Kevin do offensively based on what you've seen Shedeur do in camp that will lead to success tonight?
Great question, and that's where there's a lot you could do in preseason football. At the end of my career, I was a little bit challenged in my athletic ability and my ability to be a top-tier quarterback. So I was able to really manipulate my plays and manipulate my personnel groups in my last 2 years in the league to actually fool people to be one of the highest-rated preseason quarterbacks. So you can do certain strategic things within your play calling to really help things out in the play-action game, in the screen game, and in the bootleg game. Those type of things tend to work really good in preseason anyways. That's a staple part of our system. So, yes, we could almost fabricate him looking good with those type plays that I bluntly was able to do for myself at the end of my career. Unfortunately, though, that sometimes doesn't give you the best chance to see who you are, and maybe we don't want to be giving up some of our easy plays because Cincinnati will be looking at this in the 3-game breakdown. So there's a kind of a chess match of what plays are we showing because we want to see Shedeur look good, but we don't want to give up all of our easy good plays because we want to save those for the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson and Al Golden, their new defensive coordinator. So it's a little bit of a balance, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Coach Stefanski calls the plays for Shedeur, and I'm also looking forward to seeing what personnel guys we have with them, because the Panthers are playing their starters early.
Bernie, and they will play those starters, and so those are going to be very valuable reps, I think, early for this Browns offense and defense going against the starters of the Carolina Panthers. So I asked you earlier about pre-snap for Shedeur. Post-snap, what tells you that he's made progress and improved on some of the things that the Browns want to see him work on and that he wants to work on?
So post-snap is to me the differentiator of guys that are going to make it long run. And eventually, I believe all the quarterbacks will be able to do that pre-snap stuff, no problem. But I'm absolutely excited, and it's not for fans, even myself, not to panic if it doesn't materialize. But the reason why I like Shedeur Sanders coming out of or going into the draft and watching him last year, Nathan, me and you talked about it on air and privately. I love his confidence and his hips and feet, how calm they are right before he's about to get wiped out. And there's no threat of quarterbacking except in live situations. So this live situation, he's going to show him great maturity and presence and confidence in the training camp pocket. He showed that awesomely in the college pocket. I love to see that tonight in an NFL preseason pocket when that 0.2 second throw right before you're about to get hit. Love him to see him make those throws like he's been throwing, and then come out of this game, all of our starters and our guys with no injuries.
Bernie, what do you remember about your preseason debut?
God, it's that I thought I was in Buffalo and I was running a very similar offense to what I believe Shedeur and the Browns would be running this year. I was not smart enough at that point in my life to actually realize how blessed I was that was helping me, okay? And it did help me. And again, I played at all these cool games, and I got so excited. I did a bootleg to hit a first down at the end of my first preseason game against the Buffalo Bills, and I thought I'd won the Super Bowl, and the awesome, great Robert Jackson came up to me and he goes, "Hey, bro, you're pretty excited for a preseason game." And I'm like, damn it, my coach told me to act like I did that before, Coach Schnellenberger. So I'm like trying to pretend I'm this cool Miami quarterback, and I'm jumping around like a little boy because I ran a bootleg and hit a flat for 4 yards. So I see. So I'd like to see caution Shedeur and everybody. I mean, it's exciting. Enjoy it. You will remember this forever, or until the dementia hits you. So go for it tonight and embrace the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be a special moment, buddy. It's always a pleasure to have your perspective. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll all be watching tonight to see how all of this goes. Thanks, buddy.
Looking forward to it. You matter. Go Browns.
There he goes. Bernie. The great Bernie Kosar joining us on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it Twisted, Cleveland. Our final keys for tonight's game coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Back in Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Look, this is the Shedeur Sanders debut. It's he's going to get a lot of reps in this one. There's a lot to look forward to. I think it's as unique a preseason game as you're ever gonna have. And to steal Z's analogy from earlier, it's a perfect storm that's allowed us to get to this point. You've seen every snap, you've seen it all, buddy, all preseason long, all training camp long. What are you looking for tonight offensively from the Cleveland Browns and specifically from Shedeur Sanders?
Well, I just want to see him get in and out of the huddle quickly. I want to see him have the command of the play calls in the huddle, being able to get that verbiage out to his team, get everybody lined up, and so that you're not up against the clock. So he's got some opportunity to assess the defense, assess what's out in front of him. It's preseason, should be pretty vanilla, but I think that's first and foremost, the operation of it. So I don't want to see pre-snap penalties. I don't want to see, scrambling to get the play off before zero, having to burn timeouts. I want to see him get the plays in, get them out to his teammates, and go quickly and efficiently. And then post-snap, I want him to be decisive with the football. I want him to read it the way that he's been taught to read it. If you get into those boot-level concepts, read it top down. Don't read it down up. Read it top down. Because if that vertical's there, you take it. But if not, then you come down and you can get rid of the football. There was a play in the joint practice against Carolina where he booted out, and I think he had Luke Floria wide open on the corner. He threw it on an underneath one, which is still a positive play. But if you read that top down, that's a shot play. That's an opportunity there. I want him to be decisive with the football. Don't try to hold on to it too long. Don't try to play hero ball. We heard the stat earlier that Chris no doubt got from Pittsburgh Peepaw about Aaron Rodgers being, leading the league and throwing the ball away every year and living to play another day. We don't want to see him take a lot of sacks. You want to see him be decisive. You want the ball to come out quickly, on time, in rhythm. You'd like to see us get that run game going, because I really do think one thing that'll be interesting, how does he do with some of that hard back to the defense play action? Not just the boots, but that hard play action that Joe Flacco is so good at, and that you really help, suck those linebackers down so you can hit the ball over the top of them. So it's really about that. We know he's a very accurate thrower when everything's in rhythm. I want to see, how does his velocity hold up in the intermediate? That's one of the questions that some people did have about him. And, this are NFL windows. These are guys who are going to be playing all out. I haven't seen a problem with it. I've seen a guy who's incredibly accurate with the football, has more than enough arm, but you want to see that in the game. Sometimes in games you can revert to habits like throwing it off your back foot or not stepping into the throw and really ripping it. So I want to see him out there in this game situation do those things. Just be comfortable. There could be some sacks.
2 minutes.
You get through backup offensive lines in the NFL, they're not that good. That's a problem around the league. But if he can be decisive with the football, be accurate with it, play within the structure, and operate this offense, I think he's going to do well, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, he's going to be put in a position to succeed, and I think he's ready for it. Some comments from Dion had an availability out of Colorado today, and just that they've already talked 3 times. Like, it's got to be a crazy thing for him. This is the first game that he's played, I don't even know since when, where his dad's not the coach. I mean, it's his entire college career, most of his youth career. Like, Dion coached him. Like, this is new territory for him too. So it's a surreal thing that's going to happen tonight. It's really, really cool. Beyond that, though, you're going to get a look at all of these rookies. You're going to need to see some depth guys with the injury to MJ Emerson. You're curious to see what some of those corners.
Huge.
We need those guys in a very big way. You're going to get to see Fannin, Mason Graham for a little bit. All of those things exciting.
1 minute.
Hi, buddy. Have a great call, my friend. I know that you will.
Thank you, man. Looking forward to it.
Here is your lineup tonight.
Fun.
3 right now, in fact, the Browns game day with Ken and Gerard. Then 5 o'clock, Browns kickoff show with Andy and Tyvis. And then at 7 o'clock, get his kickoff from Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Andrew, Gerard, and the great Z. Have a great call, brother. Enjoy it.
30.
All right,
Let's
there he
go.
goes.
Should be fun. A lot to watch here. The debut of Shedeur, the debut of all the rookies, Mason Graham, Carson Swessinger, Harold Fannin, Dylan Sampson. Should be a good one for the Browns. Some good work tonight.
15.
Healthy, and let's go, baby. It's really the start now. Feels like it. The start of the 2025 Cleveland Browns season.
It's on now, brother. We are back Monday to break it all down. Thanks for listening. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.